What's good, everybody? My name's Brad Balzer, and this is my new YouTube channel. I'm a huge car guy, hugely passionate about it, and I feel like that there's a lot of, let's say, concern and fear among like car enthusiasts out there that the electric car revolution that's quickly coming, that's quickly that's already here. It's just going to continue to accelerate. There's a fear, like with us car guys, us petrol heads, that the electric car is going to kill the enthusiast car, what it means to be an enthusiast about cars. And I don't believe that at all. And there's many reasons for that. And that's kind of what I want to explore with this channel. So with that being said, right, I kind of want to walk you through for a minute or two what Dromo is, some of my background to give me a little bit of credibility and to showcase kind of where I'm coming from. And then we'll jump into kind of the format that I have in mind right now for the channel. I'm not married to the format, but it's just something, again, like I'm gonna explore my creativity on this whole thing, and I would appreciate the support and helping guide the way that this all goes. So with that being said, right, let's just jump right into Dromo and what it means. So right now, like there's two separate categories, kind of like I just briefly touched on, right, where there's like these enthusiast cars, which are kind of the old school performance cars, and they're all combustion engine cars for the most part, right? And then you have electric cars. But the thing is, I think that there's a lot of overlap there, and maybe there should this Venn diagram, there should be more overlap, and that's where Dromo is finding its home, and that's what I want this channel to be, is a home for enthusiasts to come that are also into electric cars, and for us to to explore how enthusiast cars and electric cars can be the same thing and can coexist. And the electric car revolution is not something that should be feared. It's something that should be embraced, because I think there's a lot of benefits to electric cars that enthusiasts as well can enjoy. So with that being said, right, let's jump into some of my background real quickly. I might do a whole separate video on this, depending on whether there's interest in my background or not. So leave a comment down below if it's something you'd like me to have a separate video on, to give some of my detailed background. But I come from a place where I grew up loving cars. Like ever since I was a kid, very little kid, right? I loved cars. It was unexplainable. And I, read every magazine I could get my hands on growing up, and auto magazine growing up. And, I decided to make that into my professional career. So where that all started is I went to school for engineering, and then very quickly moved to California after school in Ohio, and jumped into the tech world and the tech startup and automotive world that existed out in California. And through my journey, my professional journey, right, I got to work on some really cool cars, three of which you see right here, right? I've been at Singer vehicle design, doing super high-end Porsche 911s, resto mods, if you will, everything from the classic car that they built to the dynamic and lightweight study, the DLS car in conjunction with Williams Engineering. I was, the first employee at Divergent 3D. If you haven't heard of Divergent 3D, the car in the center is a car that they developed to showcase the technology that Divergent 3D is developing for automotive applications. They're doing 3D printing of metallic structures. It's incredibly cool technology, and they decided to build a high-performance vehicle to showcase that, and I got to help. I was instrumental in that vehicle and in that technology a few years back, and that's embodied in the vehicle that they see here in the center, the Singer 21C. And then most recently, I've been at Lucid Motors, working on the next generation of high-performance electric vehicles, whether they're going after efficiency or performance, like the Lucid Sapphire that you see here on the page. So I've done a lot of other things, but I thought that these three examples were very good, a very good showcase of kind of some of my background, my experience, and what to give you some understanding where I'm coming from. I think it's helpful, and it helps level set you. So with that being said, now, right, first off, let me know if you'd like me to dive more into that in a future video. I can do a whole separate video if that's something that's intriguing to people about my background and how my career and my education and how that all played out. let's jump now into the format that I have in mind for Dromo, this channel, at least at the beginning, and we'll see where things go and where you guys will help me get to, as far as leaving your comments and liking and subscribing, all those good things that everybody on YouTube says, right? But I do really appreciate any engagement, any feedback that you have. Try to keep it positive, but I understand if there's something you hate about what I'm doing or whatever, and you need to share that as well. But yeah, so let's just jump into it. So my promise to you is that I will post one video every week, and I'll try to do it over the weekend after the week is over. And the format of this video is going to be like my top 5 from an enthusiast standpoint, the top 5 news stories or newsworthy stories in the automotive industry that are focused on enthusiast cars, right? So that's kind of the slant with this channel, right? Like I said, is that we're going to focus on electric vehicles and enthusiast vehicles and how those overlap. So I'll try to keep it focused as much as possible on enthusiast electric vehicles, and I'll do that with the top 5, my top 5 for the week, and we'll jump into that here in a second. But then we'll do is I got a little bit of a surprise at the end where we'll go and look at something that isn't so much electric vehicle focused, but is something that's more traditional. So let's just jump into it and you'll see what I mean if you make it all the way through to the end of the video. So first up, right, is Ford. This week, Ford had a huge announcement, and that they released at the Detroit Auto Show the new 2024 Ford Mustang. Now, you might find it interesting that the first car I'm talking about on this channel that's supposed to be focused on enthusiast electric performance vehicles I'm talking about a combustion engine car. And what surprised me as well is that Ford did not reveal or even tease an electric or a hybrid version of the new Mustang. They're all combustion engine cars that either comes with a turbo 4-cylinder or a 5-liter V8 that can make up to right around 500 horsepower in the high spec version. And I found that curious, right? Because the car is gorgeous. It's great looking. It's not a totally new platform. It's based off of the old platform, but it's a very good redesign. But again, there's no electric version. There's no even hybrid version. No halfway house. What they really tried to focus on, right, is modernizing the styling, and as well as the interior. Like the interior is a big step up, which you can see here with the giant touchscreens for the driver and the passenger. They've really tried to bring the interior upmarket into the modern age, but the powertrain, was not even a whisper of electric or a hybrid version of the car, which was pretty shocking, because when you consider that its main rival, the rival since almost the beginning of the Mustang back in the 60s, is the Chevy Camaro, right? And that's what you see here, is that Chevy hasn't revealed or released the new Camaro or an electric Camaro yet. However, they have teased it, and that's what you see here. So I expect that to be coming very, very quickly. And this is the Mustang's natural rival. So I find it curious that Ford didn't do that with the new Mustang, at least not yet, which I want to get to here in just one second. Because even Dodge, even Chrysler, right? The Dodge Challenger, this is the concept car that they've shown for the next generation Dodge Challenger, and it is all electric. There is no combustion engine offering that they're talking about. They're saying it's all electric, and it makes sense when you think about it, because what are muscle cars or pony cars, as some call them? What are they all about? Or at least what did they used to be all about? What's the stigma? At least is that they're straight line. They're for the drag strip. And there's nothing better. Electric is the superior technology. It's the superior powertrain when it comes to straight line acceleration performance, which is why I would expect these muscle cars to go there as quickly as possible. And I find it very curious that Ford did not do that. At least they haven't done it yet with the Mustang that they've revealed this week, the all new Mustang for 2024. What's really interesting, right, is when you look at the sales, right? This is the sales all the way back to 2015 and this comes from Edmunds, is the Mustang outsells both the Camaro and the Challenger by a significant amount, right? Like almost double what the Challenger sells, and at least a third more than what Camaro sells traditionally. And you can see how, right, from 2015 until now, the Mustang and the Camaro have tapered off quite strongly, and that's just due to the fact that the Mustang, right, and the Camaro are both old platforms, and that's why the new one is coming out, right, for the new Mustang, and they haven't shown the new Camaro yet. But But both of those vehicles that are currently on sale have been out for a while now, which is why you see them trending downward. I do think it's curious that from the sales here, sales data, that the Challenger actually was pretty stable across its life cycle, which is very interesting. But again, right, like you see this and how they compare, and it's just curious to me that, right, that Ford didn't do or even tease an electric version of the Mustang. And no, the Mach-E does not count. I mean, I applaud them for embracing the Mustang name to push the electric vehicle, the Mach-E forward. But the Mach-E is a CUV, it's a small SUV. It's not a sports car. It's not a muscle car. So it's just curious where Ford's going to go with this, and I have some thoughts on that. But again, curious what your thoughts are, and maybe leave something in the notes below, the comments below about what you think Ford is doing here, because I think that they have an all-electric Mustang planned, and it's going to be insanely cool, and it's going to be on an all-new, all-electric platform architecture, so that they can really leverage all the benefits of an electric vehicle. And yeah, just curious what your thoughts are. Let me know, because I thought it was very curious that they didn't even tease, didn't even allude to an electric version of the Mustang this week in all the fanfare of the new Mustang release. And curious. So that's why we started. First car, drum roll, new Mustang, except no electric. Curious. All right, so changing gears. The second thing I want to talk about this week that I find pretty interesting, right, is that Jeep is jumping all in with electric vehicles. They showed three concepts. All three of these vehicles are concepts that they've shown, but they're all electric. The Avenger, the Wagoneer S, and the Recon. Excuse me. And I find it interesting, right? First off, all of these are renderings. They're not real. So this is something, right? They're showing the vision of the future. But Jeep sees, right, how the whole industry is going, and the whole industry right now is going all electric, right? You look at Rivian and what they're doing with the R1T, their truck, and the R1S, the SUV, and how they have huge backlogs, right? The Cybertruck is coming, the F-150 is doing really well. The whole entire market, right, is focused on SUVs, CUVs, and it just makes sense to go electric, and Jeep sees that as well, right? So you see them, from the Avenger being kind of at the lower end of the price point, through the Wagoneer S, which I'm sure is at the high end, and then the Recon, which goes really after that adventure, off-roading, lifestyle type of vehicle, which Rivian is really focused on. So they're trying to cover all their bases here, and they're showing that they're thinking about it, they're working on it, and that's a big deal, right? Because Jeep has a very strong name in the industry, and a very strong following. So I find it very, very intriguing and pretty inspiring that Jeep is going after, is fully embracing electric vehicles, and is showing that they're actively working on it. And then just a little bit of, perspective. So this is a Grand Wagoneer, an old school Grand Wagoneer, the OG, the original. And there's a resto mod company that announced this week that they're going to start resto modding these old Grand Wagoneers, which isn't unique. But the fact is that the thing that is unique is that they're going to restore them, resto mod them, and install an electric powertrain and battery system, right? So if you have $300,000 lying around, apparently this company's name is Ghost Garage. They're going to give you you hand them a check for $300,000. They'll hand you back a Grand Wagoneer that's fully restored with an electric powertrain and 500 horsepower and 250 miles of range. So we'll see if that comes to be. This is the only thing that they've shown so far. That's just obviously an image of an old Grand Wagoneer. So we'll see if they're able to do what they say. But it's cool nonetheless to see a resto mod that's all electric, because again, very, 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 very enthusiast oriented. And the Grand Wagoneer has a very cult-like following, these old ones. All right, so shifting into third, the third thing that really struck a chord with me this week is Honda, right? And these aren't cars, right? These are motorcycles, but Honda, right, which is known the world over for incredible vehicles, whether they're cars or motorcycles and everything in between, right? Honda got their start making motorcycles, and what they showed this week is that they are going all in on electric propulsion for their motorcycles. So they teased these three different concepts, right? This is the only artwork they've shown so far, but they did go into detail about, right, what their plan is from a sales and volume standpoint. So if you do the math here, they sell roughly 23 million motorcycles, scooters, and mopeds per year. And they're saying by the end of the decade, by 2030, 15% of those, or 3.5 million, will be all electric, and they're going to accelerate that. This chart that they have doesn't really give you an end date, but it looks like by 2040, 2045, 2050, they will be all electric, all 23 plus million per year motorcycles, mopeds that they build. So that's a big deal. And what's really impressive is that they've said that they're gonna launch 10 of these vehicles in the next 3 years, or I guess the next 2.5 years. I mean, we're almost at the tail end of 2022 right now, and they're saying by 2025 that they're going to have 10 all-electric scooters, mopeds, motorcycles on sale across the world, all new models, which is pretty awesome. And again, right, it just shows that Honda sees that the electric propulsion is the way of the future, and that what they made a name for themselves doing, motorcycles, they're going after it, which is really awesome. I want an electric motorcycle or a scooter. That would be perfect for commuting to work, right, and everything. So Honda, they know how to do combustion engines. I'm sure they're going to know how to do electric propulsion as well, and really blow people out of the water with what they're capable of doing. All right, so into fourth. This comes from China. GAC, they revealed their own supercar. So GAC is a Chinese electric vehicle company, and they have this week revealed their first supercar. So they're calling it the Hyper SSR, or the SSR Hyper, and it's a supercar. It's an all-electric supercar, and they're saying, right, that it will go 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. It'll have 1,200 plus horsepower, and it will have a base price of $240,000 US. So that's incredible, because that kind of performance right now, you can't get it from a supercar with this type of body outside of the Rimac Navara, which is a $2.5 million car. The Rimac has, I think, 1,800 or 1,900 horsepower, but it costs $2 million. So this, right, would be a huge upset. And it also lines up very, very closely with what Tesla is saying about the next generation Roadster that they'll be offering. Tesla said that Roadster is going to be around $250,000 and goes 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. Who knows how much horsepower it's going to have? But this GAC SSR Hyper, this is the Chinese automaker here at GAC saying, hey, we see the performance benefits of electric vehicles. We see that we need to make a claim, and we need to have a halo product. And guess what happens, right? You start with something like this, and it trickles down into other vehicles that are lower cost, that are more accessible to more people. And again, this fully embraces electric for the enthusiast, and I find that hugely inspiring and awesome. All right, rounding fifth here. So we're into fifth. So Ford, we're back to Ford. So something that's really interesting with Ford is this week they gave an ultimatum to their dealers. So the Ford has split themselves into 3 different categories or subsidiaries, I guess you call them. So there's Ford Blue Oval, there's Ford Pro, and there's Ford Model E. So Ford Blue Oval is all the traditional combustion engine cars and hybrids. Ford Pro is all their commercial vehicles, and then Model E is their electric vehicle branch. And this is something that has just been done this year by their CEO. And this week, they made a huge announcement that they're going to have higher requirements, let's call them that, for Ford dealers that would like to sell the electric vehicles or be a part of Model E. What's really interesting here, right, is that Ford sees that the dealership experience, the customer experience, is so critical to the success and the adoption of electric vehicles, and they're pushing for it with their dealer network. And it's been speculated this is one of the biggest reasons that Ford has decided to split up their company into 3 different subsidiaries, so that they could start pushing some of this on their dealer network for the electric vehicles. And what you see here are these are what they're calling the 5 pillars of a Model E dealership. And obviously it's focused on the customer experience and the charging infrastructure, right? Everything from education of the salespeople or in the service department to the fast chargers and level 2 chargers that are readily available to the public at each dealership. Non-negotiable pricing, which is big, that's posted on the internet, and it's haggle free, which, you know, again, Tesla is doing. And, you know, having been through an experience like that with Tesla, it's phenomenal, right? Particularly given where we are right now with car prices as they are. This is a big deal. And then the ownership experience, like I touched on, right, including complimentary pickup and drop off of your car, so you don't have to go to the dealer anymore to get your car serviced. Mind you, electric cars don't need to be serviced all that often anyhow, but when they do, they'll come and pick it up, they'll drop it off. That would be phenomenal. And with their last pillar, I'm not really sure what that means. So if you have some understanding of what the digital ownership experience is of the Ford dealer, be curious on that. I'm assuming it has a lot to do with the app, right, that you have on your phone to whatever. But yeah, let me know what you think. It's a big deal. There's different tiers, right? So there's 2 different tiers to these dealerships that Ford has set up to sell Model E. One is the basic and one is the elite. And it can cost anywhere. For the basic, they're saying it's going to cost about $500,000. The dealership will have to spend out of their own pocket, right, to bring up their dealership experience. Mostly, the cost is mostly driven by the charging infrastructure that's going to be needed. So $500K for the basic Model E dealership. And then if you want the elite dealership, which gets you a bunch of privileges over the basic, they're saying that's going to be anywhere between $1.2 to $2 million to retrofit and bring up your dealership to the right spec to sell these vehicles. So this is a big deal. And the dealer network only has 6 weeks to decide and to let Ford know, or they have to wait until the end of 2025 to get another opportunity to sell the Ford Model E vehicles, which are all the electric vehicles that Ford sells. So again, big deal. It's not so much enthusiast focused, and so in my eyes it kind of is, because the dealership experience, the ownership experience, is central to how you interact with your car and the brand. And this is a very big deal that you have Ford, one of the largest automakers in the world, saying, we realize this is an issue. We realize that we need to make some changes here to adapt to the new world order that has been spearheaded by Tesla. I find that curious. And what's really interesting is that Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, also has made some comments publicly. I think they were on the last slide about that they've been studying Tesla closely, right? Particularly in Norway. And what they see is that Tesla is slowly going to more of a dealership type model. Tesla still has direct sales and they still control the whole thing, right? But Tesla is moving, at least in Ford's eyes, they see that Tesla is moving more towards a dealership type arrangement. So it'll be interesting to see how Tesla might evolve a little bit closer to a dealership experience, while the traditional dealers like Ford and whomever else kind of transition and evolve a little bit more towards Tesla, and how they sort of meet in the middle. Really interesting to see how that plays out over the next 5 to 10 years for everybody. But Ford seems to be on top of it here with their requirements for their Model E certified dealers. So, well, let's see what happens. Very cool. Very cool though. All right, and then so this is what I alluded to at the beginning. Hopefully you made it all the way through. Appreciate it if you have. So we'll go into reverse, right? We'll look into the back. We'll look backwards a little bit, and because we're still enthusiasts, we're still, if you're listening to me talk, hopefully you're finding this interesting. So Pagani, very small Italian auto manufacturer, right, revealed their new car this week called the Pagani Utopia, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful car. But what's interesting, right, is that they have not followed in the footsteps of, say, Rimac. It's not electric. It's not all electric. It's not even a hybrid. Mind you, the Porsche 918, the McLaren P1, 10 years ago, were hybridized. The LaFerrari as well, right? This Pagani, which is brand new, it's not even on sale yet. It comes out next year. It's combustion engine only. And this was very much on purpose, is what Pagani is saying, to keep the car light and simple. And I can understand that, and I sort of respect it, because if you add a hybrid system or a battery system for an all-electric vehicle, right now, the technology, you're adding mass. The car will be heavier than it would be if it was a simple combustion engine car. And that's what Pagani has really leaned into here. And that's why we're talking about it in the reverse gears, because it's kind of backwards from, it's kind of old school. It's not called backwards, it's called old school. And what's really old school about it and very cool is that, first off, it's got a V12, twin turbo V12. It's like 6 liters. I think it makes over 850 horsepower. They're only making 99 of them at $2.5 million each. And unfortunately, if you want one and you didn't know about it until right now, and you haven't talked to your Pagani dealer and got your order in, I'm sorry to say it's sold out. So you missed your opportunity, at least to buy a brand new one. But they are saying there's going to be special editions of the Utopia, convertible versions. So if you missed your chance on the coupe, you still have time. So call up your guy, let them know you want one. But it's incredibly cool. And what's excellent about it as well is that it's being offered with a manual transmission. So not only a V12, but a manual. Very cool, but no electric. But I think it's healthy to have a balance, right, between talking about electric cars and combustion engine cars, because without combustion engine cars, right, the legacy of them, we wouldn't have electric cars. So that's reverse for this week. So if you've made it this far, really very much appreciate you listening to me. And if you did like this video, please like it. I appreciate, considering this is my first video, any comments. If you subscribe, that'd be phenomenal. I'm not expecting miracles on my first video, but any little nudges in the right direction would be very, very much appreciated. And something, right, that I'm gonna leave you with, and that I'm gonna end every video with, is something that Steve Jobs said in one of his really famous, it was a Stanford commencement speech. It's something that I try to subscribe to still to this day, something that just struck a chord with me, and I want to share with you, and I'll make sure that this is how I end all of my videos, is to stay hungry and to stay foolish. And if you don't know what that means, look it up, because it's important. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next week. Thanks, everybody.